What was that?
They'll listen to us, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
You're not listening to us.
I
turn off out a little bit there.
I was just thinking about other things, and
that's
like,
great.
did I leave the iron on? And
I hope your dog pukes on your fucking foot. I hope he shits all over your carpet too.
Nerdrotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Beekler. I am in San Francisco, California. I come to you from Nerdrotic.com. And this is the Nerdrotic Podcast, episode 109. I am with my good friend and co-host down in San Diego, as always, Dennis Pathalkis. What is up, man?
Nothing much. I heard you join me in the leg damage this week.
Yeah, I did. I was on my way to the gym. And I decided to move a big metal shelf and dropped it on my leg. And didn't go to the gym today. I'll be fine. Little ice pack. Basically, we're old, Dennis. Yes. And stuff we could bounce back from. It takes a day or two sometimes.
In my case, a couple of weeks since
I
tore that calf muscle.
Sure you guys didn't tune in to hear about our ailing problem. We're sounding like a couple of grandpas.
I'm getting old.
Oh my God, I cut myself reading a comic book. So
that loud music made my nose bleed.
Matlock. Yeah, we got a lot of news. This is our news podcast. Dennis and I are a couple. If this is the first time you're tuning into our regular podcast, we do have a lot of new subscribers. We are a couple of old comic retailers, and we started this podcast because we missed the comic conversations on the floor. The best time to be had at a comic store is when you hang out all day, just talking shit all day, and it's great. We had couches in my store and salon chairs, and people would just hang out, and it was brilliant. And that's the one thing I miss. I don't miss Diamond, but I miss you customers and talking to you guys. So we just started this podcast, and it pretty much centers around, sometimes we'll talk about comics, but it mostly centers around all the peripheral comics like TV, movies, everything that has come from them that has made a lot more money than they ever have. So yeah, this is our news podcast. And as always, Dennis, we're going to start out with a death. This guy lived a good old life, and honestly, I knew he was still alive. He was just out of my mind. Is Robert Guillaume Benson, the great Benson, which started out in a little TV show called Soap.
Yes, it did.
He was the funniest thing in it, actually, and he got a series out of it that lasted longer than the series he started in.
I remember Soap actually starred Billy Crystal, so that's saying a lot.
As an openly gay character.
Yeah.
So you think nowadays that we just got out of segregation or something like that, but yes, we had a African-American gentleman starring in a hit television show and an openly gay character in TV in the late 70s. Now, was it all hunky-dory back then? Hell no. Yeah, Soap was a great show. It was a great show.
And Benson even better.
So was Benson. Benson was a great show too. I watched it back in the day when we had like 5 things to watch. It was one of the 5 things that was really good.
He passed away at the age of 89 after a battle with prostate cancer. So he will be missed.
I guess we could start out with the real big news of the day, which I would call this a surprise pick to play Captain Marvel / Shazam / Billy Batson. I don't know.
We don't know exactly who he says he's playing Captain,
the original Captain Marvel. That's what he said on his Twitter. And we were talking about Zachary Levi of Chuck fame. Now, Chuck has got quite a following. Actually, our dear co-host, who is on assignment right now, that's why he's not joining us, with John Reed, is slightly infatuated with Zachary Levi in the show Chuck. And Chuck was pretty good. I mean, I
watched all of it. I watched the entire series of episodes. It was good. It was fun.
I did not. What I did see, I enjoyed. I'm just not a fan of network TV. So, but as far as network TV, it was pretty good. I got to say, it was pretty good. And then he showed up in the second Thor movie because he was originally supposed to be in the first Thor movie, and due to a scheduling conflict with Chuck. And now
he was also in Heroes. He was in the second incarnation of Heroes as well. which
Yes,
was
he
very short.
was. And he just keeps getting work around superheroes. And my mind is a bit boggled. Why? I mean, he's good looking guy and decent actor. He does not scream Shazam. There's going to have to be, he said, even like, I guess in a follow-up tweet, or maybe it was somebody, he said he was going to be hitting the gym, which,
And steroids?
and allegedly the needle. Yeah, well, if Rock is, I don't know if he's going to be in the movie with the Rock now.
Black Adam.
Black Adam's going to be the villain in this one. I always thought that that movie's been in development, feels like, for a decade.
Yeah, well, Black Adam supposedly was going to have its own spin-off movie, and they were just going to do a standalone Black Adam movie, which was going to be kind of odd. But
well, that was announced when I owned the comic shop, and that was 2013.
It was just announced again, like about 4 or 5 months ago as well. So
announcing is one thing, but this is a real casting, and it's interesting. And when he yokes up, I mean, of course he's not going to yoke up as big as the real Captain Marvel, but Chris Hemsworth yoked up pretty damn good for Thor. If you saw him in that first Star Trek movie, he's very skinny. So yeah, it can happen, and maybe he'll be really good at it. Shazam's going to be a tough character to bring to the silver screen. Now I know, like, there's hardcore comic fans and DC fans going, "What are you talking about, Gary?" But this is going to be a real hard thing to get across to the general public, because Shazam is a true golden age character.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are ways you can do it, but you definitely can't go dark, gritty, sophisticated, Dark Knight, Logan with Shazam. You're going to have to go Rocketeer. It's going to have to be a throwback. It's going to have to be really light. I'm
kind of hoping that they do, Billy Batson as a kid, I'm talking like 8 to 10 years old, and then having Shazam, because remember, Billy Batson is Shazam. He just has these powers, and having that kind of kid-like quality, if they're going to do that rather than the teenage version, because I mean, there's 2 different ways you can go on that one.
Yeah, that's why it's never been one of my favorite characters. It's just, I loved how they portrayed him in Kingdom Come, when he did have the mentality of the 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid. And Shazam is the wizard, so that's the name he invokes to turn into Captain Marvel. They can't title the movie Captain Marvel, but they can refer to him as Captain Marvel.
Actually, Shazam is actually the acronym of all the gods of the powers that he has.
The wizard.
Yeah.
Good luck with this movie, DC. That's all I'm going to say. It's not anything that I need to see nor want to see. I know there's fans out there. There has been some really good Shazam stories told, but it's almost too cornball goofy for me. I don't know. I know there's people who love this character, but it's going to be a tough one. Man, you think Superman's hard? This one's going to be hard. Because you can play it straight. You can play it straight. I just don't know if the public is going to buy it. I might even like it. As a comic fan, I've read these. I understand these. They weren't my favorite, but I understood it. But there's going to be people going, "What? There's this giant 8-year-old kid running around," and it's going to be. Are they going to make it a comedy? Are they make it like Big, with Tom Hanks and
Well, they could. I mean, honestly, WB needs something to lighten the mood on some of their comic movies.
Well,
which speaking of,
what, with Justice League?
Yes, with Batman versus Superman. What we just heard.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of news on the Justice League Warner Brothers front, and the spot of news we just heard is that Warner Brothers has gone out and they color corrected. They color corrected everything. So that means they had to go back to the. It's not like they can just get a file, color correct it, download it back. I mean, this takes a ton of work. You have to. I used to work in this field. Okay, the amount of work and money that they had to do this cost them millions to do, and it's a fact that they did it. The news site that we went to proved it. So it's cool, and all they did was try to make it match. Now the news site says Wonder Woman. I'm thinking they tried to make it match Justice League. Because Justice League, the color tone has gotten brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter as time has gone on. I still think it still looks muted to me compared to especially Thor Ragnarok. It's just odd that they would do this. I mean, why?
Well,
I don't understand why. So they can fit it in a box set.
It's one of the big criticisms that's been made about that movie is that it's so dark you can't see anything.
Okay, so but it's too late now. Like it's kind of like when if I made a recap video for us. I mean, they only have like a week's life. That's it. I mean, they basically have a week's life. It'd be like me color correcting our American Gods first video. And so the 100 or so people who are going to watch that over the next couple of years, that's who I did it for. It's not even worth it. I don't understand. Unless they're going to repackage it somehow. I don't know. I also heard that they're retconning some of Wonder Woman's story in the Justice League. So I don't know how that's going to play out. It's just really interesting how Warner Brothers is really trying to fix this.
Yeah.
And at least they're trying to fix it. A lot of companies would just go, we're going to go with what we go with. That's it. But man, I guess they feel like they really have something savable in this. We had another site out there. I'm not going to mention their name. They're a YouTuber. They're a big YouTuber. And they did a video on, they titled it, it's total clickbait, early reviews or early, here, I'm going to give you the title of the video. Sorry. It's Justice League said to be brilliant. And the source they cited was a badly translated Chinese review. So this guy in China said Justice League was brilliant. So we're going to run with that as news. I love YouTube, man. I freaking love it.
God.
Oh my God. That's great. And this site has got, I mean, it's a good site. I watch their videos. They're great. They've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Whew.
I just listened to it, by the way, and I honestly, I only listened to it for like about 2 minutes, I think, and I was done myself. But
hey, we don't want to speak back of our fellow YouTubers. They do fine work.
I'm just saying, I myself, I wasn't.
That's okay. It's not for everybody, and the stuff I listen to is not for everybody, and our stuff is not for everybody, and that's great.
Exactly. Everyone's got different tastes, different.
Well, that's the cool thing about YouTube. I mean, you will find your taste. I mean, you're not stuck. I mean, remember when you were overwhelmed by the 100 channels of cable you have? Now YouTube is just you will find something you like on YouTube. That's what's really great about it. And I'm also finding out that the interaction with commenters and other YouTubers is way better than even for me for Facebook or anything like that. And it also kind of goes hand in hand with Twitter, which I don't do, but maybe we should.
Well, the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you might not be right for some.
Oh, wow. Did you make that up yourself? I'm just kidding.
You know what that is, right?
Yes, Dennis. Okay. All
right. I just want to make
sure. Stop. So in that Justice League vein, in the correction, they also changed out Hans Zimmer's score, who was going to be scoring Justice League, and they brought in Danny Elfman, which I don't know if that's actually an improvement. I think for nostalgia's sake, people might love that. But I just listened to the theme, and I was going to put it in our podcast, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. So I'm just going to recommend you guys go out there and listen to the first 30 seconds of the Justice League, the new Justice League hero theme, and then go back and listen to Danny Elfman's Planet of the Apes theme. Now, while they're not exactly alike musically, it's basically a sped up version of that theme. It's got the same arrangements as everything. Now they hit different beats with different instruments, but it is the same thing. And he's not the only one who's done this. I mean, the Star Trek score sounds like the 48 Hours score. If you go back and listen back there, they sound exactly alike, because they're done by the same guy.
You know who's actually a really good composer? Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo. He's actually been doing tons. He actually scored Thor Ragnarok, as a matter of fact. And I've been hearing nothing but good things.
What else has he done?
He's done Rugrats. He's done, he's done tons of stuff. TV, movies, you name it, he's done it. And it all sounds different. That's the whole thing. That's awesome about him. is he realizes that a lot of the composing out there has just been very, very the same. You know,
Yeah, James Horner, by the way, that's who did 48 Hours in Star Trek 2. His name was blanking right now, but the guy he was so good. I think he's passed now. No, whoever did Stranger Things, man, the score for that is insanely good. Insanely good. So, and Mr. Robot's score is insanely good. And those are digital right now. So, and they don't all have to be that. The Thor Ragnarok, just the stuff, the little bit of stuff I heard sounds amazing. And Devo was an amazing band.
Yeah,
I've seen them live.
He's also done the Lego movie, the 21 Jump Street, the Royal Tenenbaums. You know, you name it, he's done it. Pee-wee's Big Holiday, which was the last Pee-wee thing that was on Netflix. He's been doing tons and tons of stuff. Goes from kid shows to movies. So yeah, very, very talented choreographer, or not composer, excuse me, not choreographer. Composer, there we go. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to see what he did with Thor Ragnarok.
Well, I can't. That's actually the first Marvel score I'm actually looking forward to. Especially after that letdown of Spider-Man Homecoming that everybody was talking about, and that was not very good. It was okay just because they did the throwback. But yes, and I am still I love film scores. I listen to them all the time. But yeah, Stranger Things, big fan of that, and Ragnarok sounds like it's going to be amazing. So with Joss Whedon's, it turns out Joss Whedon's big recut, coming in and directing and reshooting 30% of the movie. Turns out he just hacked off about half hour to 45 minutes because it's clocking in at I think it just 2 hours, including credits. That's it. So and they popped up the color, cut out what was it, probably 45 minutes. They cut out half an hour. I don't know. And yeah, that's what he did. So hopefully it helps. I don't know, but I don't think that was the big change they were looking for. But again, I think Warner Brothers feels like there's something there to salvage, or are they just trying to save face, Dennis?
It's their cash cow. You got to remember. So they're going to do everything they can to milk it, even when the cow is dead.
Yeah, if it bites, which it could. I mean, you know, it could be good too. But I mean, I think I still stick by all bets are off after that. I mean, they can talk about other movies they're going to do, and Ben Affleck will definitely be out as Batman, I think.
That Flash movie is not getting made.
No, I don't think so too. And you know, I'm just wondering, you know, I'm really curious to see if this superhero fatigue is actually setting in, or if it's just Hollywood fatigue. Who knows? I mean, they've had a rough go of it. I mean, it did well. It was an outlier, but everything else has just crapped out. I mean, you take it out of the equation. What was the last hit movie? Spider-Man?
Boo 2, Medea's Halloween thing. That was the last. It actually made a ton of money for what it was made for.
Okay, so when did that come out?
Just this last 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so if it made more money, but they had the worst box office pretty much in their history.
No, they're saying that was the only thing that actually saved that week's box office, because everything else crashed and burned around it, and that was the big money maker.
If that's what you're making money off of, you're in trouble. I would consider that in trouble. Let's see. Friday's estimates. Geostorm was who? I don't even see it in the top 5, Dennis.
No, this was when it came out, the opening weekend for it. So that was last week, if I remember correctly. It was last week, the week before.
Yeah, Tyler Perry's Boo. It's made $28 million. Yeah, that's not going to help Hollywood. So you're talking about profitability.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not talking about actually making money.
Oh no, you're talking about blockbusters.
Yes, that's what we're talking about, Dennis. I know I'm talking about fucking indie movies.
Last blockbuster this year.
Actually, Happy Death Day is destroyed Tyler Perry's Boo as far as profitability. Happy Death Day has made $44 million, and I think it costs like $5 million to make.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good profitable movie. So these like weird horror movies are starting to make money. These low budget, like it would cost like 30 million to make, or anything. And this isn't stuff I'm into. I mean, like I've seen it. I don't even like the book that much. I heard the movie's good though, and I'll probably see it when it's on cable or whatever. It's not even worth talking about in our podcast though. It's not in our wheelhouse. Yeah. So we're gonna find out, because the month of November has started out kind of gangbusters with you got Stranger Things coming out, then you got Thor next week, and then you got Justice League, then you got Punisher to finish off the month. That's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. I don't know, man, but it'll be interesting to see. What did you say? Speaking of Joss Whedon, what did he say about Thor Ragnarok?
Joss Whedon got a chance to see an early screening of Thor Ragnarok, and he called it a modern classic.
A modern classic. That's cool.
Yeah.
Really pretty much every early review I have seen, non-spoilers, have said that it's really pretty. And they give it like 7.5, 8. It's like 8 out of 10. They're giving it, which is pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's clocking in at Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes anymore anyway, so I don't really care.
James Gunn, who I trust, he and I have the same kind of taste in movies, from what it sounds like. He likened it to the 80s Flash Gordon and also Buckaroo Banzai in tone and feel. That, to me, is a ringing endorsement right there. I'm definitely in. I want to see it, and it looks like fun.
Yeah, I'm totally down. But the one thing I hear is it's comedy.
Yeah, it's comedy.
It's
definitely
comedy. Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna play with me. I'm down with funny, but like the whole entire thing just being a joke, I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably.
I don't know. Joke. I think it's just it's more buddy comedy. But it has. Think of Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, the old road adventure
on the road movies.
Yeah.
Wow, I remember watching those when I was a kid, when I was sick.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is big news here, Dennis. This is crazy news.
Hit me with it.
Mocap, the mocap suit. Everybody's familiar with the mocap suit. It's kind of what's really helped Marvel along the way.
Believe Andy Serkis, supposedly he invented that, but he didn't.
He and Al Gore.
Yeah.
It's his internet invention. The mocap suit, the motion capture suit, which Marvel has relied heavily on in their last few. Remember when Tony Stark used to have, remember when Robert Downey Jr. had to wear a suit? Yep. Like the entire suit. Now he goes to work in a sweatsuit, works maybe a couple hours a day for like 4 or 5 days, and has Infinity War 1 and 2 or Avengers 3 and 4 filmed, and that's it. Like he went in and they filmed for like 2 months. That's it, in a warehouse. So because of the motion capture suit, it is made, and they've done such a great job of like, these things aren't perfect, but God. Like everybody's used these things. When did they start using them?
Back when I was in school, back in just as I was finishing up 2007 is when they started becoming really big. And profitable, affordable, I should say.
Okay. Well, it turns out that this is stolen technology, according to
the software is
This is stolen technology. Yes, the software is stolen. Okay. So now I don't know about the suit itself, but the software for the suit, the software that makes the suit work. Otherwise, it's just a suit. And it was stolen by a Chinese company. I'm not forgetting the guy's name, but he filed suit recently, and named in the suit are the Chinese company that he alleges stole the software. Fox, Disney, and Warner Brothers and Paramount are all named in this suit. Now, they go one step further, Dennis, in this lawsuit. Mm-hmm. They say they own the characters that were used in these motion captures. We're talking everything from what did they say? Benjamin Button to Iron Man to anything they've used in motion capture.
CGI characters, yes.
Yeah, I mean, just everything. And they have a real interesting take. Now, I personally don't think they're going to like get ownership of Spider-Man or the Hulk or anything like that.
No.
But what the big deal is apparently, according to the guy filing the suit, so the guy's name is Steve Perlman, and it's from Reardon LLC. And he alleges that this Chinese company stole it and that all these studios knew about it and went ahead and bought it anyway. So since they knowingly did that, they might lose some rights to the characters. Now, I think this is more of a grab to get more money, but this is really interesting because we're getting in the murky territory of intellectual property, which is just the craziest form of law there is. And it's basically making it up as you go, because it's like putting ownership on thoughts, on data, on ones and zeros, on what's in your I mean, like what's floating in the air. You just can't do it. But somehow Disney gets away with copywriting stuff for longer than 75 years.
90 years, longer than 90 years now.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So I don't know. What do you think? I think in the end, this guy's going to get a lot of money. It's a Silicon Valley guy. And it's just, according to this article, it seems like he's got a pretty decent case.
I think what's going to end up happening is it's going to go to court. He's going to get something, but I don't think there's going to be a resolution to it, to tell you the truth. There's not going to be a judgment on it as to whether or not copyright, if he gains any control over any of these characters, any piece of the characters. I think he's just going to get some money for the software use, and that's pretty much what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and the article states that, like, Adobe Photoshop doesn't have rights to the thumbnail images we put on our YouTube channel. So yeah, but because they knowingly took the software, that I mean, there's going to be a lot of back residuals. Maybe, I mean, they're going to get their asses sued off if this is true. If this is true,
it's going to be licensing issues is what it's going to be at this point. I mean, I think that's what they're going to fall back on is it's going to be like pirating software, and it's going to be licensing issues, and that's what they're going to be basing it on.
And what you're seeing is the death of Hollywood as we know it right now by 1,000 paper cuts. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No, but it is starting to happen. Movie theaters are not doing that well. Movie ticket sales are way the hell down. TV ratings are way down on certain things. Now they're actually up as far as streaming is concerned. If you go to some of the cable channels are doing well, but not that well. I mean, our CW channels are all some of them are double-digit losses. Supergirl's premiere was the lowest rated Supergirl ever. And yeah, things are changing now. What is behind that? A lot of things, but it's what I talked about before. It might be Hollywood fatigue. There's just a lot of other shit to do now. It's kind of like being a San Diegan. They always said San Diegans were crappy sports fans, which isn't true. It's just there's a lot more to do in San Diego. You're not frozen in for a winter, so you don't have to just watch that damn football team every day. And now you don't have to watch it at all. There is a million, and you don't just surf in San Diego. You can go to the mountains. You can go in the same day. You could go ski and dune buggy in the dunes of the desert and then come back home and surf. I mean, that's what you have to deal with there. And it's kind of the same here in the Bay Area, except you have to go over 500 bridges. But so there's a lot more to do out there now. Now you don't just have people who just go to the movies anymore, and they have a lot more to compete with, and they just keep getting dinged with stuff. They get like a Harvey Weinstein happens, or just bad movies happen, or they've lost. I mean, we were just talking about last night in our Stranger Things podcast. The early 80s were such a great time in movies because they were forced. I mean, they had to be creative.
They took chances.
They took chances. They didn't have a ton of money, and they had these super talented people, and it wasn't oversaturated either. I mean, Hollywood is oversaturated. It's an oversaturated market with too many editors and too many actors, and And oversaturation can just make a bunch of competently bland product, plain wrap television.
Also in the early 80s, what there was a lack of sequelitis.
Yeah, it was unheard of.
Yeah. So what do we have coming out next week? We've got Thor, which is the 4th in the movie series. Third. Okay, third. We've got Justice League coming out in a couple of weeks after that. That is the second movie, if you will, in this series. And The Punisher, even itself on Netflix, is kind of a spin-off of.
And it's the fourth version of the Punisher.
Yeah. It is the fourth version.
It's the fourth damn version of the Punisher. So
yeah, you got to start branching out and taking chances with things if you want people to come and watch it. Otherwise, we're just watching the same crap over and over and over again, and people don't go.
And as cool as Stranger Things is, it's a hodgepodge of all of it, of all of it. But I think what it shows is like how good things were in the 80s. And also Hollywood, again, was smaller and more connected to real people. Like Spielberg was a suburb kid from Arizona. Okay. And that's why those suburbs that are in Poltergeist and in E.T. look so damn familiar to those of us who grew up in SoCal and even up in NoCal, up down in Concord, because that's when the suburbs were kind of being built out, and it just looked real. It looked like Spielberg could have lived next to you, and he knew who you were, and like all the BMX bikes, and that's just the way it was. Now things are a lot different now, but Hollywood, I think the hardest thing that I have always said that the easiest thing to do is a drama, because it's just living your life. But I think it might be the hardest thing for Hollywood to do because it's living a normal life is so odd to them now. And to them, I mean, the higher ups in Hollywood and people who've been there their entire life screenwriting, and their life is Hollywood. So that's why Hollywood loves to reward itself when there's a movie like Hollywoodland or not La La Land, the stuff like that. They really love it. Yeah. When it's just about, Hollywood. And I think they're definitely have lost the connection to people. And I think we're also losing connections to ourselves because we're not going out as much and stuff, and we're on YouTube. But I think we're also ripe for like a renaissance. It's it's always darkest before the dawn. So I think that like out of this some creativity will happen. I mean, it's got to crash first. That's the unfortunate thing. Superhero fatigue is definitely fitting in. I say that right before Thor Ragnarok probably makes $200 million in a weekend, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But hey, I'll talk about this. Disney's Marvel superhero ride is coming to an end, and it's coming to an end soon. And I know my two co-hosts don't believe me, but I feel that after maybe even after the first Avengers movie, people might be just kind of over it, because I think after those Avengers movies, because we've all been waiting for years for this, like everybody teaming up. Once that happens, where the hell do you go? Where do you go?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going in and you're not hitting any new territory. You're just going to bring out some new characters, probably too late. So this is going to be a disservice to like a Black Panther or Ant-Man or Captain Marvel, who should never get a movie anyway. I mean, and not for the reasons you think. Okay, it's a bland character. It's just a bland character. Carol. Now, that argument could be made that Iron Man was a bland character before they took him on, and that's a pretty decent argument. Yeah. But there's Iron Man stories to draw on. Carol Danvers didn't have 500 issues of comics to draw on. She was dead for she was just a little whisper in Rogue's head for a long time. So, you could definitely make a good movie, and if they make it different from the comic book, good. If they give her a sense of humor, good. If she plays off like the female, Robert Downey Jr., good. All the better. That means it will be good. I just think I would have rather have seen a She-Hulk, a Sue Richards, man. And it just makes me think of Namor. It's like, that's the one, God, as great as the MCU has been, it's
Yeah,
we're missing Fantastic Four and Namor and Galactus, and that's especially since they're
And
going
X-Men.
galactic. And the real X-Men, the real X-Men, which is cool because I've said this in earlier podcasts that once this has run its course, which is about to do so, in about 10 years, you can reboot everything. And you could do it differently. You can start it with the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and the X-Men, and not even hit Iron Man and Thor for a while. You can do something completely different. But I don't think you can continue. I think for a while they can do one-off movies if they do interesting stories. What I would do if I was Marvel is I would go the DC EU route and just start adapting classic stories that were contained. Now, the problem is Marvel doesn't have as many as DC does. DC had the freedom to make these classic stories, like The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, because their continuity is always being re-upped every few years, and of recently every other year. Marvel, up until recently, had a consistent universe. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't stuff they could do. It'd be awesome if they just did a proper Kree Skrull War in like 3 movies.
Well, how about this instead? What you do is you've already set the precedent for Marvel one-shots, right? As a small 15-minute, 20-minute segment or something like that.
Yeah.
Disney already is going to have their pay service, if you will, their streaming pay service, which is going to be part of Marvel. That's how you start introducing characters. Remember, we talked about this a while back, doing the Marvel one, and the Marvel one-shots are supposed to be coming back again. So what you do is you introduce these smaller characters in a 20 or 30-minute segment that you charge $2 or $3 for on the interactive site for people to watch.
Yeah, and then you can go TV series, do the opposite of, or start focusing your characters, like make a Spider-Man TV show. Make I don't know what their rights are concerning that. I don't know if Sony has just film rights or TV rights.
Marvel Team Up.
Yeah, Marvel Team Up or Marvel 2-in-1. Exactly. Tales to Astonish, stuff like that. But what I'm focusing on is, I think the one thing that could be successful for them is do a Kraven's Last Hunt. You know what I mean? Like recast a different Spider-Man and just make it that Spider-Man's established and we're just watching Kraven's Last Hunt. That would be awesome. That and if DC started doing that, like I guarantee, man, mark it down. In the next 5 years, if the superhero thing is still going, The Dark Knight Returns will be adapted as a film. It will, and that would be rad. If they did it sooner than later, you could get a Michael Keaton. We've talked about that before. That would be cool. Or Christian Bale. If you wait longer, you get Christian Bale. And you do it there, and that it would just be rad. There's nothing in this world that says you can't go back to the Nolanverse. Like they can't just go, okay, we're going to start it back up again.
Yeah.
People forget that Man of Steel takes place in the same universe as the Nolanverse. Okay, that was supposed to be their expanded universe. That Brandon Routh Superman with Bryan Singer was supposed to intersect at some point. That was the plan. That was the loose plan that they had. Problem is, Man of Steel sucked. And the rest is history. But they could still do stuff like that. So, I still think that Marvel, if they went back to it in 10 or 12 or 15 years, they would have to do another cinematic universe. You got to make everything connect, because that's why people watch these Marvel movies. A lot of these movies were watched because you're waiting for the next one. Now, there are people out there who I listen to and watch on YouTube who are getting tired of it. And, I don't know if I'm tired of it yet. We'll see after Thor. I kind of felt that way after Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange, but it just felt like, I don't think that, I even said it on our podcast. I said, they can't just keep doing origin movies. I mean, we're over origin movies. We want to see establishment movies. Yeah, dude, DC could adapt Kingdom Come. That would almost have to be like HBO series or something like that. That would be awesome. That would be expensive.
Stretched out. Yeah.
But it would be great. I would love to see it. Yeah, I would absolutely love to see it. Or do Marvels. Marvels was great, through the, follow that reporter around and
Ben Eric. Yeah.
That was just good stuff. Yeah. All right. So now on one-off superhero movies, off the success of Logan, which is a no doubt a great movie. We got two things to talk about with it. That looks like Mangold is excited to do an X-23 script. Now, this doesn't mean we're getting an X-23 movie. It just means he recently came out in a press interview and said, "I'm really excited to do the screenplay." And I think a lot of people ran with it like they're going to do this movie.
Yeah.
I am of the opinion that Logan was a hit. It was a solid hit that could be Oscar worthy, and we'll talk about that in a second. I think they would have already been making this movie if they were going to do it. I don't know what their holdup is. It's probably they almost should have made her part of the New Mutants, but they're so this what Fox. It looked like Fox was going in the right direction for a minute there with the X-Men, but in the movie aspect, it's going off the rails again. I mean, I don't know where New Mutants lands, and as far as this new Singer movie is coming in, I don't know if they're connected. I don't know if it's connected to Legion.
They need to come out with what the timeline is, and
a loose one, just a loose one.
Yeah,
because I like I said, we enjoy Legion. I enjoy the shit out of Legion. I think it's a great show.
It's fun.
And Gifted's a pretty good show. And I think they're going in the right direction. And God, they should be 20 years in. But I think you not having the New Mutants looks interesting, but I would have loved to have seen X-23 in the New Mutants. I think that would have been fun to see her in it. But I don't think the movie will ever get made, to be honest with you. I think they'll recast Wolverine first. But there is a lot of talk about a couple of superhero movies getting some Oscar run, and you said that you posted an article on our Facebook page that Wonder Woman is possibly getting some Oscar love.
Yeah, Warner Brothers is really pushing for Oscar consideration for Wonder Woman, including like Best Picture, Director, Adapted Screenplay, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actor. All these cinematography, all this stuff. They're actually trying to push Wonder Woman for Oscar consideration.
I think supporting actress is pushing it. Wonder Woman was a good movie. It was a good movie. It wasn't the greatest movie ever made. It was a solid 7 out of 10. Okay, it was a good movie. Logan is worthy of Best Picture. That is a movie that is worthy of Best Picture. Now, I can see the argument of Wonder Woman being nominated for Best Picture. Absolutely. And screw the Academy anyway. They suck. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Wonder Woman is better than any of the last 10 Best Pictures. I'll tell you that right now. I would take Wonder Woman over any of the 10 last Best Pictures. But I just don't think it's better than Logan. Logan had Patrick Stewart's performance was masterful. And if he doesn't win Best Supporting Actor, I mean, it's stupid. Then the Academy Awards are officially stupid.
Well, the thing is, you got to remember the studios need to actually set their movies to the Academy for consideration, for Oscar consideration. That's the first step. I still to this day, Moon, the Duncan Jones movie with Sam Rockwell, which was an awesome movie, one of his first movie. Sony screwed him on it. They never sent it out for consideration. It should have been. And that was the reason why, is because they weren't getting any money off of it because Duncan Jones made a good deal with them, and he was basically making what little money he was getting off of it. It was all going to him. None of it was going to Sony. So Sony had no stake in that matter as to why they should put it up for Oscar consideration. So they never sent it in. So this is the first step in that process, is having Warner Brothers or Fox submitting these movies for to the Academy to get them nominated.
Well, Sony has been an idiotic company since Super Spider-Man 2. And, Tom Rothman's in charge there. I don't think he was at the time. But the Moon was a great movie, and it should have been. But, also, I'm not the biggest Spielberg fan, but Saving Private Ryan was a better movie than Shakespeare in Love. Shakespeare in Love wasn't Best Picture. And it's like, we've talked about this about, Annie Hall winning over Star Wars. Come on, please. Chariots of Fire winning over Raiders of the Lost Ark. Get out of here. It's a bunch of white dudes running in slow motion to Vangelis. Okay. And the soundtrack was good, but that's it. Logan should get love. Will it get love? No, they absolutely will not. Well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to rethink that thought. Actually, they are desperate for ratings with the Academy Awards, and I think this might be the year, kind of like when Lord of the Rings won, which it should have won. I love Lord of the Rings, and it deserved 3 Best Pictures, not just 1, in my opinion. But I think they might give it to Logan, just for that, just to get young people watching again, and which shows you this is all just a fixed thing anyway.
I think it'll be nominated, but I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. I think that Patrick Stewart will get Best Supporting Actor.
I think he will too. I think it'll be his body of work, and that'll be cool. But I mean, like the year Dark Knight should have won Best Picture, dude. I mean, not just Best Supporting Actor for Heath Ledger. Dark Knight should have won Best Picture, period, and it didn't. So, whatever. And I thought that was the superhero's last chance of winning a Best Picture, but then Logan came out, and I hope Logan does spark a bunch of movies like that. I mean, we can get the Venom. Venom is being made because of Logan. Okay, now with all the good intentions of the world, and we have we love our Tom Hardys. We have Tom Hardys for Tom Hardys. Okay.
Yes.
And he was amazing in Taboo, and he's amazing in pretty much everything he does. I'm questioning this movie quite a bit. For one, it's got nothing to do with Spider-Man, nothing to do with the Spider-Man universe, nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why? I mean, this just shows like Sony, MCU made a deal with the devil, making a deal with Sony.
It's because Sony still retains the rights to those characters. They only made the deal for Spider-Man and Vulture, of course. With Marvel. So that's the reason why they think they can do it better than Marvel and still they want to have their cake and eat it too. Basically, is what they want.
Oh my God, I'm trying to think of the woman who was in charge of Sony when Ghostbusters got greenlit. I'm forgetting her name now. She's in charge of the Spider-Man rights. Before she got kicked out at Sony, she worked a deal to be in charge of Spider-Man. And I mean, she's smart doing that, but she's smart in keeping her job, but she is not smart when it comes to making these movies. And this is just going to be the biggest disaster. I mean, it's like, there's no way this movie can be good. Now, will we see it? Sure. It's Tom Hardy. I'll go see it. What the hell? But there's no way it's going to be good. It looks like,
I don't think he's going to stick around. I mean, I know it's in production right now. It just started on like Wednesday or Thursday that started in production, but I think we were talking in our very long pre-production meeting that Tom Hardy's more than likely going to step out before this actually finishes filming.
So Amy Pascal is her name. She is the one in charge of the Spider-Man rights right now. And she was in charge of Sony, but it was during the hack. It was under her reign, so she kind of got blamed for it. And she also made some slightly racist comments about President Obama in some emails that might have had something to do with it. But she still runs Spider-Man. And yeah, I don't think, Tom Hardy is notorious for leaving projects that are lame. So yeah, I can't see him staying. And no comic book fan is going to want to watch. I mean, like sophisticated comic book fans are going to see through this BS, so the only people who be excited about it are like people who buy Venom stickers for their trucks or something. I can't even think of anybody who doesn't know really anything about the character, and they're going to do the Lethal Protector, Eddie Brock. But I mean, it's it's the anti-Spider-Man. So you're going to make the I mean, it's like making a Bizarro movie without Superman.
Yeah.
In other news, I know you don't recap Star Trek Discovery with us, Dennis.
No, I do not.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing you do, because we try to be very even-handed with that, and we know that not that you can't be even-handed with stuff, you just flat out don't like it, and we have a rule that we don't make anybody watch anything they don't want to watch. Okay, and Dennis,
after that first episode, I was pretty much no, I'm not gonna watch this anymore.
So, what particularly did you not like about Star Trek Discovery?
Pretty much all of it. The whole, it didn't tell you if it was in the Kelvin universe or not. If it was, they were trying to say that it was actually within the old series, but everything was so far advanced from the old, and I know everyone keeps talking about, oh, well, it's Section 31. It takes place in the future, and this thing is no, you know what? That's bullshit. I'm sorry. It's not. It's the way they were selling it was it takes place 10 years before the original series, where Kirk is an ensign at this point. He is, not a captain, of course. The Enterprise does exist. We have Captain Pike, piloting the Enterprise, and there were so many inaccuracies that were going on that I couldn't get into it. I couldn't suspend my disbelief, and also the acting was just bad. I wasn't into it.
Okay. There was. See, like I said in our podcast, if it was 20 years ago, my head would explode because I was hardcore into Star Trek. There's been a lot of time. There just hasn't been any real Star Trek out there. I am on your advice and some people in the comments. I'm going back and I'm watching the last 2 seasons of Enterprise. I'm not going to watch those first. I watched the first season, not going to ever watch that again.
Just make sure you skip the very last episode. Do not watch the very last episode of Enterprise. Otherwise, you will put a dent in your TV. You will punch a hole through your TV.
I'm halfway through the 3rd season, and while it's better, it's definitely better than Discovery. The aliens in it are cool, and there's some cool stuff. And I like the arc. It gives me a little context for Discovery because I am used to the Star Trek of the Gene Roddenberry of there will be no conflict between Starfleet members, and that's what I was used to, which quite honestly, you can't do anymore, which is fine. I understand that. And I understand that Enterprise was kind of, it wasn't the first to do it, but they kind of took it to a next step. And actually I'm kind of liking what I see. I'm not a Scott Bakula fan. I
wasn't either. Yeah.
And just not the biggest, but again, it's okay. It's better than I remember it being. Now, is it because I just watched Discovery? I don't know, but it's given me context for Discovery because it was a little shocking to me. All the conflict. It's all conflict all the time. Mm-hmm. There are things, believe it or not, especially after our last recap, there are things that I think could be cool in Star Trek Discovery. I like the ship. The spore drive, while it's completely, makes no sense that they're never talked about this before in the Star Trek universe, is an interesting concept. It would have been very interesting for a futuristic Star Trek, for one that takes place after Next Generation. And that's where I lie with this. I think you could take the same damn cast and just cast it 80 years after Next Generation, and you would have fixed all your problems and not changed the Klingons. The changing the Klingons, it's fine if you change the Klingons, but they again tried to make them look like the Kelvin. They look like the Kelvin universe, but with more makeup, right?
Yeah.
And it totally looks like the Kelvin universe. Where there's lens flares everywhere and Dutch angles, and I just think they did a lot of stuff they didn't need to do, and it's I know they're going for mass appeal. I know that's what they're doing. See, the companies see the Star Trek films on a whole as mostly a success, even though the last one just bit it. Mm-hmm. They still see them as a success because they have done better than all the previous they were more profitable than the other Star Trek films back in the 80s. I mean, that could be argued, but that's the way they view it. That's the way the company views it right now. So they want Star Trek to be more mass appeal. They want it to be more Star Wars, which couldn't be more un-Star Trek. So it looks like Star Trek Discovery is trying to ride the line between we want mass appeal, but we want to also be a Star Trek show. And I totally believe Star Trek belongs on television. I know there's a lot of videos out there that disagree with that. That's crazy.
On free television.
On free television. Now, well, like I said in the previous podcast, that I have tiers of television. I think I said this on Gifted, right? Or was it Stranger Things, where when I'm paying for something, I have a certain set of expectations over commercial TV. Like Gifted, I will be a lot easier on a show like The Gifted because I'm watching commercials. It's free television. It's network. I know where it's coming from. It is for basic mass appeal. When you make a show for a streaming service, I see it as a movie. I see it the same as a movie. I am going to pay money and parking and stuff to go see a movie, so I expect a certain level of acting and shooting and cinematography with the movie. So when I pay $5.99, which is still pretty cheap, but I'm paying for it, and it's Star Trek. Don't you have high expectations with Star Trek, Dennis?
Yeah, I have high expectations for Star Trek. Yes, I see your point. Yeah, if you're paying for it, it should be a little bit better quality and better writing, better acting, and everything that I saw from that first episode wasn't it.
No, absolutely not.
Granted, I only saw one episode. I saw the very first episode. I admit that, and that's what I was basing it on. But that to me was, am I going to pay the $5.99 a month to continue to watch this? And it didn't show me anything new. In fact, it showed me stuff I didn't like. So I was like, I'm not going to bother with this. I've got plenty of other stuff that I'm watching as it is.
Yep. And I don't understand this marketing technique that they have right now, because for one, if you would have shown both the show back to back for free, I think you would have won over a lot more people, because I actually thought the second episode was a lot better. They've done 5 episodes, right? 5 episods. And
so, yes.
I've liked 2 of them. Like almost the whole thing. I was mediocre on a couple, and the last one that everybody thought was the turning point. I guess I'm the minority. Me and John were the minority. I thought it was hot garbage. I thought it was just terrible. I do like Captain Lorca, even though he's like they've made him out to be this atrocious person, but I find him to be the most layered human being in the show. Like, they show his motivation. Like, he had to watch his ship being self-destruct. He had to kill basically his entire crew to save them from the Klingons. But the problem is, you're only as good as your villain. So your main character, she's a good actress. I mean, she did okay in Walking Dead. She did okay in Walking Dead, but they're not giving her a lot to work with in this show. Now they're giving the other actors a lot more to work with. That's what seems unfair to me.
I think also tying her into a legacy character from the original series was a mistake to begin with, and just springing it on us, kind of like, surprise, she's Spock's sister. She's a human, but she's raised as Spock's sister, and it's like, what? Huh? This goes back to Star Trek V, where you have Spock's half brother that shows up, and you're just like, what? Huh? What? It's very, it's a record, needle scratching across the record. And by the way, a record is those big vinyl things that you kids don't know about.
Yes.
Spin. So you put a needle on it and you can hear music. But
yeah, so it's not unprecedented. And Spock's half brother, wasn't it from a different mom? Wasn't it it was half brother? So
yeah, it was half brother.
I can't remember if he was full Vulcan or if he was half human too.
He was full Vulcan. It was from his first marriage, so it was his older brother. But he was Sarek never talked about it because he was a disgrace to the family.
So Sarek is a player. So
and kind of an asshole too, because he just owns all of his sons.
He's always been a total asshole. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of within his character. He's always been a total asshole. But the fact that for one, this Sarek has way too much emotion, and being attached to an Earth girl when it was the Earth part of Spock that really, made him, push Spock away.
Well, the funny thing is,
that's an inconsistency I can't get over.
The actor playing Sarek in STD, and that's what I'm just calling it now, is STD. He is the kiss of death for every single reality or sci-fi show that he's on. He was in The Cape back on NBC. I don't know if you remember that. He was the villain on The Cape. He was in Heroes, if I remember, the second incarnation. He was the very last 2 seasons of Orphan Black, because they introduced him, in the 4th season. And of course, the 5th season was their final season. He is the kiss of death for every single sci-fi show he's on, except for this one.
He was on X-Files too. I think he was on the X-Files.
Probably.
He's been around. I think he's a good actor.
He's a good actor. It's just
not
that
horrible as Sarek. He's just got too many emotions. I don't know. It's still early on. It's having a rough time. Now, it got renewed.
yeah, I got renewed for a second season.
Now, people can't slam dunk on that one. I know a lot of people are like, hey, it got renewed. Remember that Star Trek Discovery was originally supposed to be an anthology series. Now, I think, my personal opinion is they will be bringing back this cast for a second season. I think it's still out there that they will leave this universe or something like that is going to happen. And that way you can actually explain the fact that nobody ever talks about Spock's, step half sister or whatever, or stepsister. And there is ways you can save it to make it somewhat logical. Now, the thing that put me over the edge last episode was the logic extremists. The logic extremists.
I've heard the Vulcan terrorists.
Vulcan terrorists, dude. That was. I laughed out loud. I was like, you got to be kidding. And there's people who are going to eat this up and argue with me about it. And it's like they did. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to. All right. Now, of course, they were going to renew this, Dennis. They put everything into this. And sorry, John. I know Big Brother's awesome and everything, but Big Brother's not going to carry a digital network.
No.
Star Trek is.
Yeah.
Star Trek is. So they had to renew it.
Yeah, they had to hang their hat on something. And by the way, the actor's name is James Frayne. Is his name.
Thank you. And he's a great actor. So Dennis, do you agree with me that like they had to renew this?
Oh yeah, they definitely had to. I mean, there was no way they were going to base their fledgling revenue service on Big Brother, like you said, and definitely not on Young Sheldon or The Big Bang Theory or anything like that, because you can get those for free. And what I find also just blatantly insulting, I guess you could say, to the American audience is that the American audience is the only one that has to pay for this, for the CBS service, to watch Star Trek from another. You have to pay another streaming service. It's already on Netflix everywhere else in the world. So you go to Canada, you can watch it on Netflix if you have Netflix up there. You go to Europe, same thing. Here in the United States, you have to pay for a separate streaming service to watch this TV show, which was to me insulting.
Yeah, and also it just closed you off to a bunch of fans, and you just invited a ton of people pirating your show, and especially since it's going to be on Netflix in other countries, you don't think they're going to be running ScreenFlow, by the way?
Oh yeah, exactly.
They're going to be running ScreenFlow. Download it, and within a half an hour, within 15 minutes of the show first airing, when it hits Netflix. After that first hour, you watch it and rip it, it's done. It's all over the place for free. So, and that's the argument for digital comics. Like, why are you going to pay for something when you can so easily get it for free? And and also, what else, where this would make sense with their digital service is if CBS All Access was the only place in the world you could see Star Trek, like all the Star Treks, but they're still on. You could still watch stuff on Netflix.
Yeah.
They're still rerunning it like crazy on BBC America, unless they stopped. Next Generation.
Nope, they're still doing Friday is the old series. Saturday is Voyager. And I believe Sundays is Next Generation.
Yeah. I would shut all that down. I would just say you were the only place you could see Star Trek as CBS All Access. And then that makes sense. It says, fine. You just made yourself your enclosed digital network. And CBS does have a pretty big library if you're into that kind of stuff. I'm personally not, but if like you're into MASH and stuff like that, I could see it working then. I do. It's just, it makes no sense to let that stuff be out there. So you're essentially saying the only thing you're having to pay for is Star Trek Discovery. Everything else you can find somewhere else. So that's where it's complete bullshit. So it almost looks like they're half-assing their digital network. Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And it's not going to work, because the whole idea of every network having its digital, and I know we've argued for that, but when did we argue for that? 2014? I think it was 2014 we argued for that. It made sense to argue it back then. If you circled your wagons and brought in everything you owned and put it on your own digital network 2 to 3 years ago, it would have worked. It would have worked because you would have closed off Netflix from growing even more, and then Amazon encroaching in on them. And Amazon could pounce anytime it wants to. It's just doing it slowly so it doesn't get hit with antitrust. But Amazon's got endless money, and I know Netflix has investors, but those investors will dry up, and after those investors are gone, there will still be Amazon. That almost rhymed. So yeah, I think Star Trek Discovery will go 2 seasons. I think it was automatically going to get renewed. I think we're not going to get a new season until 2019, and I think it'll be less than, what's your prediction? 9 episodes, 8 episodes?
I think it'll be 8 episodes.
I think 8 episodes. Right now it's 18 or 19 or 17. No, sorry, 15. I'm all over the place. It's 15 episodes this season. We're getting 3 more, which we will be covering, and I'm going to stick with it and if it turns good, I will freely admit it. I would be happy. There is a point where I'm just going to get over that she's related to Spock. I mean, it's whatever. They've already done. It's not like Star Trek Discovery is the only thing that's done damage to the Star Trek brand.
Oh, no.
Hardly at all. Okay. So, I mean, we don't want to put it all on them. And I can see where some good stuff happens. Like I said, Jason Isaacs has actually been a pleasant surprise. He's been really good. Because I just thought he'd be a villain, and there's more to him. So he's been the
Lorca?
Saving grace.
The guy who plays Lorca.
Yeah. Guy plays Captain Lorca. Yeah. He's good.
He's been in other things too that I really liked.
No, he's a great actor, man. He's a great actor. So there could be a future for that. And I know Nicholas Meyer is loosely involved in this show. And if he's really going to do that Khan prequel, I'll watch it just because he's involved. Because like that guy knows Star Trek. He did 2 of the best movies, and he did the best movie. And it's arguable. I like Star Trek 6. I'm a big fan of Star Trek 6, by the way. So Star Trek Discovery carries on to many people's chagrins, and it's been so divisive. I mean, our comments section is pretty divisive. It's been divisive. Everybody's comments, not just us. So yeah, look forward to another take. But again, we take one episode at a time. We take it one episode at a time. And like I said, I could like the next episode. You never know.
And you know what else got renewed?
What's that? Oh yeah,
Preacher got renewed for season 3.
That could be good or bad. It was a rough season.
It was a very rough season.
2. We recapped every episode.
We got mired in New Orleans in Dennis's apartment.
Yeah. There was some good. There was some very good. And then there was some very boring. And it looks like we're going to get more of the same. But if it's the Angelville storyline, that could be good.
Yeah.
That could be very good.
Hopefully we get some more Humperdoo.
Humperdoo. Oh my God. That was so funny. That was funny. There was some really fun. I mean, Hairstar was brilliant. Hairstar was brilliant.
His whole ascendance to the head of the Grail. That whole episode, I was laughing hysterically. That stands out to me as the best episode out of the entire both seasons.
It might be. It really might be. I really loved those first 2 episodes too of season 2. Those were just God.
They were great, but I mean, just the way they were filmed and written.
There was 3 great episodes in the second season, but that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, everything else was kind of good, and it was really up and down. But I'm glad it's back. It's got a great cast. It does have really good writers, and the directing of the show is amazing. It really does adapt the comic perfectly, and Cassidy is just amazing. So
yes, we need more Cassidy. We need real Cassidy.
More real Cassidy.
And Tulip too.
And Tulip. Yes, we need more real Tulip because I love her. Okay, so back to Marvel real quick. The Phase 4 thing, on and off. It's on and off. It's on and off. It's on and off. Kevin Feige, they're not. I think it's off. But I just wanted to talk about this Hulk trilogy. They're talking about phasing in between other people's movies. So it's not going to be a Hulk standalone trilogy. It's going to be, there's going to be a Hulk subplot in 2 other movies besides Thor Ragnarok. And they're going to call it the Hulk trilogy. Now, if they lead this to World War Hulk, that would be awesome. But now that all this talk of like the Avengers 4 kind of being it for Avengers movies, I don't know where they would go with that. I think it would be cool, but I don't think they can sign these contracts. And talk about like what is going on over at Marvel Comics. I'll tell you exactly what's been going over at Marvel Comics. It's been called SJW Marvel and the whole diversity thing. They were trying to create new characters to put in the movies. That's all this ever was, is they saw that we want to replace Iron Man, and we don't want to just recast Iron Man like Bond. We want to put a new character in and so they want every character to be a mantle. They want Hulk to be a mantle, Thor to be a mantle, Iron Man to be a mantle. Iron Man can be a mantle, by the way, has been a mantle, but he's still Tony Stark. They want Captain America to be a mantle, and what they want to do is put new characters in these costumes, and that's what they tried to do at Marvel Comics with this all new, all different thing. Problem is, it didn't work. Didn't work is being nice. It's fallen flat in its face.
Yeah, and it alienated a whole bunch of fans, and it didn't bring in new readers really. Because people just weren't interested in it.
One of my biggest mantras owning a comic shop over the 10 years was, it could be considered controversial. Screw the new reader. That was always been my screw the new reader. For one, it's on me, the comic shop owner, to bring in the new reader.
Yeah.
That is my job.
You are the guide to the world of comics.
Yes,
if you're doing your job right, by the way.
If you're doing your job right, and when you are a comic book retailer, your job description is matching a person to their story. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Simply it, or their product if they're just a collector, but mainly to their story. You sell the stories first, and everything else will sell itself later. It's just like in High Fidelity. And my friend Doug, I grew up working in record stores. That's why working in a comic store worked out pretty well, because they were very similar. You would put on some Bauhaus, or you put on some Susie, and you're like, I'm going to sell 3 of these today, just like they said in High Fidelity. And then, in the comic store, Dennis and I'd start talking about Hellboy, and we'd sell 3 Hellboys off the shelf in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Or we get a mom that would come in and start, saying, what do I get for my son who's just getting into comics? And so, Gary had a children's section that was set up, and we'd walk them through it. And in that process of walking someone through it, people would overhear different things, and they would pick up some of these items as well. And it's just all a matter of how you sell it. Honestly, it's, as I told, now I'm just blanking, Roger, back when we were doing Image, remember ImageCon when it first started? Yep. I said, you've got to be a Barker. You've got to be part P.T. Barnum and part John J. Rockefeller as well at the same time when you're out there doing this stuff. And you have to sell it and be a little bit larger than life when you're doing that. And be
somewhat real. I mean, like the one thing comic book fans can do, especially most of them are really good at, it's the one medium where the person selling to the customer, there's a very good chance the customer is going to know more than you. No matter how much you read as a retailer, there's always a bigger fish. Okay. So you always had a mutual respect. So you had to be real. You can't try to sell this SJW Marvel, for lack of a better title, right now, thinking that it's good. And it doesn't matter who the character. I tell you what, if they wrote a good story for Riri Williams, we wouldn't be having this argument. There wouldn't be entire video channels dedicated to bitching about Marvel Comics and making money. And actually, their argument is winning because it's a good argument. It's these stories suck. It's not the character sucks. Now, some of them have come out and said Riri Williams sucks, but I mean, if you read between the lines, they're saying the storytelling sucks. Okay, they're just saying the comic book sucks.
You also have to be genuine about how you feel about this medium as well. Because I mean, your customers are definitely going to call you out on it and see that you're not genuine, that you don't care about certain storylines or certain characters and things like that. Like for me, for example, I was never into the, I guess you could say, the early aughts X-Men. It got too convoluted at that point. And I always just joke with Harry about this, that the X-Men in the Marvel comics at that time takes place in a different universe than the rest of the Marvel universe.
Harry was my old manager, by the way.
Yeah. And it always used to piss him off. But then when I explain it to him, he's like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, see what I mean? I go, yeah, I know you're upset about it, but it doesn't exist in the same universe as the Spider-Man or the Hulk or anything like that.
Like, how could Captain America let Sentinels exist? I mean, it just
Exactly.
never made sense to me. But it works, and God, it was the great unifier. And the thing is, like I said, it's Ghostbuster marketing. This is all Gamergate shit. It's like we're divided right now. There's a divided Star Trek fan base. There's a divided Doctor Who fan base. There's divided Marvel fan base. Like, what the hell? Like, let's not mirror the country perfectly, shall we? Like, that was the one place I remember I had one of my parties at the comic store, and I had my father-in-law there, and I had a very good friend of mine, William. We'll just call him William. My father-in-law and my William. Okay, they were chatting it up, having the best time. If either of those two guys talked about politics, one of them is left to Bernie, and the other one is an ex-Vietnam pilot Trump supporter. Okay, but yet in my comic store during our party, they hung out the entire day together and had the best time. Okay. Yep. So it's a great unifier. We always like let politics had to stay at the goddamn door. And even in San Francisco, I know what people think, and they're mostly right about San Francisco, but you'd be surprised. It's, I was right next to San Francisco State, and it wasn't all one side at all. I saw the entire spectrum, and I actually had a super diverse store. All walks of life. I would say in our area, it's probably one of the, maybe this side of New York, one of the most diverse areas in the country. And everybody was just comic fans, man. And it's gotten lame. And a lot of that, as much as they're trying to blame these YouTube channels, those are a reaction to what you are doing, Marvel, and what you did and your crappy marketing. And the thing was, okay, it came from, we want to recast these characters, and we don't want to recast these big stars. We want to start some up and comers, and they want to basically farm in their Disney Channel talent into an Iron Man suit. That's basically what these comics are. They've turned into like a Disney XD show, or a Drake and Josh, but worse. I actually like Drake and Josh. I don't mean to talk bad about Drake and Josh. It's a good show, but you know what I'm talking about, getting the Disney actors in. I mean, we got the first sniff of that with Homecoming. Homecoming really felt like a Disney tween show.
Zendaya or whatever her name is.
Yeah. The one who didn't. Well, yeah. So Marvel, get your crap together. Quit worrying about guys and gals on YouTube calling you out. Yeah, sometimes they're getting personal. No, I don't like it when people get personal. I think the reason I don't like it is because it ruins your argument. And I'm talking about the YouTubers now. When you get personal, which you have every right to do, it is your channel. I am not telling you what to do, and I'm not even telling you what you're doing is wrong. Actually, what you're doing is I actually think it's making a difference. But it hurts your argument when you personally attack somebody, because the other side can just focus on those attacks. You know what I mean? So I hope you understand what I'm saying. When you have even though Iron Man doesn't have Iron Man in it, and it's selling under what, 50,000. Spider-Man, which is your best-selling book, is selling like 60,000 books. That's pathetic. That is death is coming. Death is coming to comics in a hurry. And it's also proof that DC can't carry the industry, which sucks, because DC is doing really good right now. They're putting out real good stories, and it's not helping.
Well, except for that Watchmen countdown thing, whatever it is.
You know what? Oh, the one that's right. I kind of into that, man. Why not? Well, remember when I was bitching in the store about they had too many Crisis, and I think they should just make everything count at some point, and they kind of did that later. I forgot what the name of it was right after I sold the store. Oh I want to say it's inclusion, but it's not. That's not what it was called.
No, it was the end. I think not the end.
But what they did is they made
Yeah.
basically everything count, and then they did this rebirth thing, which is involving the Watchmen. But the Watchmen involvement in this is just going to be like another universe thing, and it's the why not? Why to me it's like you did before Watchmen, so anything after that is like you've already done the blaspheming. I'm kind of okay with everything else now, and not everything DC is doing is perfect, but in the comics, it's pretty good. They're you know what? It's the Ritz Cracker, Eddie Murphy's Ritz Cracker theory. Like if you haven't eaten for a week, that Ritz Cracker is going to be the best goddamn thing. This is the best Ritz Cracker I've ever tasted. That might be the Ritz Cracker effect, but DC is just making regular good comics right now.
I would pay to see someone hold down Alan Moore and have, basically recite him the entire thing, just see how bastardized Watchmen has become, just to watch Alan Moore's head explode. Because I think he would, I think it would just be a really good reaction.
You know how I feel about Alan Moore. I love Alan Moore. I love his writing, but he's also the biggest fucking hypocrite alive. Okay,
crazy.
He bitches about not using his material, and all his material that's famous is adapted material. Okay, I mean it's not like he made this shit up. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Sorry, what's the Watchmen? It's just Charlton characters that are based loosely on DC characters. So why the hell not? Watchmen still stands. It's fine by itself. I love the story, and I am even a fan of that movie that everybody hates. But me and Derek Robertson, we still love it, dude.
Glad somebody does.
Oh my god, he and I talked about that movie, the 4-hour version, for like an hour one night on the phone, just talking about the Watchmen.
Were you doing your hairs and curlers too when you
we did, and we were doing each other's nails.
Nice.
We were on the phone in the same room together. Dude, so yeah, again, we don't talk a lot about comics on this channel, but we will, okay, because that's how we met. That's how we got into this stuff. So yeah, Marvel, get your crap together, and no, don't try to put, Captain Marvel is going to get the kill shot on Thanos. I know I've predicted that in previous podcasts. I'm predicting it again, that
20th.
Captain Marvel will get the kill shot on Thanos in the 4th Avengers movie. You heard it here first or last or third. I don't know when. But don't go in that direction. I just don't. Okay. If you want to make new characters, make new characters. Do not try to replace. Not everything is a mantle. Okay. Just don't. Just make new characters. And if you can't, then stop. Okay. Then it's just not working. Stop chasing new readers. I know I'm going to circle all the way back to that. When you're chasing the new readers, all they've been doing systematically for the last 30, 40 years is chasing off your regulars and not gaining new readers. If you were gaining new readers at the rate you were losing regulars, it would make sense, but you're not. You're not. So stop. I would just cater to the regulars right now, cater hard to them. And then through those regulars, you will get more readers, because you'll have more regulars coming back to comic shops. Comic shop owners will will do their bit to bring in new readers. Okay. That's what I always did. That's why I was one of the few stores. I was the only store that focused on kids in San Francisco. I loved having kids in my store. I had kids, but I had a kid growing up in my store. I had 2 kids grow up in my store. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But Marvel, you're taking the fun out of it. Stop doing that. Just stop it. They'll listen to us, right?
What was that?
They'll listen to us, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
You're not listening to us.
I turn off
out a little bit there.
I was just thinking about other things, and
that's
like,
great.
did I leave the iron on? And
I hope your dog pukes on your fucking foot. I'd be shit all over your carpet too.
She's asleep now on the couch.
That's good. And you sure she's alive? I made you look.
Yeah, she's looking at me with one eye.
What did my wife say the other day when my dog was hacking up? I'm all, should I check on it? And she said, "We've got 2 more. It's cool."
Oh wow.
Shit, my wife says. It's funny. It was 2 a.m, but it sounded like my dog was dying. Yeah, it was funny. Oh man.
What other news do we have?
With the last bit of news is great news. We like to end on good news here. Vincent D'Onofrio is returning as the Kingpin in the best Netflix series, superhero series on Netflix, Daredevil season 3.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Does anybody not like this?
Could that mean that we're going to get a certain storyline that was teased at the end of Daredevil season 2?
I think it's a certainty unless the SMOD comes. The sweet meteor of death.
Oh, yes.
The sweet meteor of death, then nothing's a certainty. But if the SMOD doesn't show up, then we will get Daredevil season 3 and we will get Born Again, which...
Not literally born again. We'll get the storyline.
No, I will be born again. I will be a born again Christian after I watch Daredevil season 3. Oh, that'll be, why not try it? What the hell? Could be fun. No.
Going back to Stranger Things, which I was going to mention earlier, I just thought it was funny. You know how Sesame Street does parodies of popular culture things? They have done one for Stranger Things just recently, and it's called Sharing Things.
So the question I have is, what the fuck are you watching Sesame Street for?
I'm not. It's popping up in one of my news feeds. So
oh, okay.
It really is.
Yeah. Why is Sesame Street popping up in your news feed?
Because it's a parody of Stranger Things. So
okay.
That's the reason why.
Well, we could save that for the Stranger Things podcast, which we're going to totally go back on our word now. We're not going to do them individually. That's just not going to happen.
Why?
Dude, listen, if we've gotten more love for the video and we got a lot of views and we appreciate the views and we will finish the podcast out. We'll probably do 2 more. We'll do a middle one and we'll do an end one. But I just, I got a con coming up and this is the first time I'll be selling comics since I sold my comic store. Scheduling wise, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how I only have 1 day off this week right now. I get next week off, but or week after next. So it's starting Thursday. So I don't know. Maybe we can jam them out then. I don't know. We'll see how that. Right now it got freaking demonetized. It got demonetized. I'm like, dude, it had 50 views. What? I mean, I want my 0.0 cents. No, we'll see how it goes. It was a good podcast. I was very proud of it. It's just Netflix, this dropping everything at once does not help us recappers at all. And it's not just us. I mean, and we're not a big enough station where we can go, we're going to do episodes 4 through 8 and people are going to watch. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're known for our individual episodes. So we'll see. I'm leaning against it right now, but it's for scheduling reasons. If I had the time, I would go ahead and do it. I'm 6 episodes in. So how far are you in?
I've only done number 2.
Yeah.
Not it's second episode, not number 2, literally, but
Yeah, there's one not so good episode in it for sure.
Okay.
There's one episode that's really not good at all. So it's starting to show a little. It starts out really, really good. And it could rally. I got to watch the last 3. But it was only one episode I had a problem with. The other ones were pretty good. It moves a little faster than the first season does. That's for sure.
Okay.
But I love the first season. So yeah, we'll see. All right. Yeah, that's it. That's all. We've been bad jabbering on all night. Well, actually not all night, but I got to edit this thing. So there. Our next podcast, Wednesday, it's Dennis back with me because John doesn't like the show. I don't know why. Mr. Robot at 9:20 p.m. Pacific time.
Too busy watching Big Brother and Survivor.
Yeah, it might be a Big Brother night. And then we'll probably throw in another news podcast that Friday or back to Stranger Things. I'm not sure yet, but we will be doing some content. I'll be off that weekend, so actually you'll probably get assaulted with videos, little reaction videos and stuff. I want to do some. It's a staycation a little bit, so I get to play a lot with my YouTube channel, which I don't get to do often, and oh my God, answer comments and stuff. I'm just so behind on that right now.
I've been answering comments.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that because I've been uber busy. Any final words, sir?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic Podcast. Please subscribe.